Good morning, folks. Well, more like almost noon, at least Central Standard Time. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I am your host, Tiffany Daniels, and I'm very sorry I am late. But in my fantasy football league, today is drafting day. Therefore, I have been spending the last 2 hours working on it. So you're going to have to excuse me. Anyways, we are going back to that horrible, horrible world known as the JRC. We are going back to the blog we have been reading from thus far. I can't believe this thing has lasted for over a week, but there's a lot of material to go over in this particular blog, so it's neither here nor there, and I'm babbling. Sorry. Of course, you are going to find the link to this blog post in the description as always, as well as the other pertinent links to the Stop the Shock campaign. Most importantly, templates, templates, templates. Go to the link, put in your name, click on your senator. Don't make me say it for the 1,000th time. Also, the Change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition is still live, folks. The only way we're going to get these bastards and get some justice for these kids and for these young adults is to get this place shut down. Get it signed. Alright, folks, now, speaking of, when we are speaking about the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and sometimes see clips of actual surveillance video, I can't talk, of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you have young children present, please use your headphones. If I mumble over any words, I'm actually surprised my brain can actually do anything other than calculate stats right now. But my apologies in advance. Alright, so back to where we left off yesterday in the interview between Anna and Dave. So, here we go. Back to Anna here. Anna, I told my mom and the principal I want to stay at this school. I don't want to move to another school. Remember, folks, she's not talking about the JRC. She's talking about one of the previous schools before the JRC. I like this school. No, he said. Well, we can't keep you here. You must move to another school. I got emotional and acted out, and they had to end the meeting. They just said, okay, well, since she's so upset, we're going to have to ask you to leave. They sent us home, and I remember one of the teachers telling me, good luck in your new school, whichever school you end up going to. I walked out of the school building crying, because I knew I was not going to come back there again. I was thinking, what if I don't like my new school? Then what? Then, Dave said sad, then you were thinking of consequences. Anna, yes, I was thinking that I lost a good school. It might end up somewhere worse. I was thinking, what have I done? Maybe if I would have just behaved and stayed out of trouble, none of this would have happened. Dave said, see, we do that. Those of us on the spectrum, we blame ourselves. We do that a lot, and it's not until we get older and begin to realize things and how these school systems treat the neurodiverse that we begin to understand why it was we may have acted out. Of course, they considered my acting out in school. I had to sing. I was going to correct the teachers. Yes, I knew it wasn't socially appropriate, but I felt like having more accurate, actually factual information was more important than stroking my teacher's fucking ego. So I, of course, would call out and correct the teachers. Thankfully, I was never dragged out of class for that, but a teacher did eventually engage, along with the whole school, in some fucked up, twisted rumors about me. Yeah, that happened. Yeah, I had to get my mom involved. It's not very pretty how they treat us in mainstream public school, just gonna say. Okay. So the fact of the matter is, no matter how we act or how much we mask, these schools are going to find something to break us over the coals for. It's just a fact. Dave said, Anna, so after that school, I went to a new school called School 2. It was a private special needs school in greater New York for autistic kids and teens. My mom knew I hated taking medications, so when she eventually heard that the JRC does not give meds, maybe she thought, oh, this is just the right place for her then. I'll say it once, I'll say it again, and this comes from somebody who just had pills thrown at her for a good majority of her life. If I had to choose between taking all that Ritalin, in spite of what it did to me, and the JRC, I'll take the damn Ritalin. Just putting it out there. And that stuff has messed me up for years to come, probably even after this. And I'd still take that Ritalin all over again rather than get sent to that place. Dave, I take medicine not because of aggression, but because I'll be paranoid without it. Anna, oh. Dave, I guess the family decision to enter JRC was influenced by their claim they can keep clients off meds often. Anna, yeah, I think so. They did tell her they do not give medication often, and she was pleased with that. I heard she said, oh, good, because my daughter doesn't like meds. Dave, and you like the sound of it too? Anna, yeah, most other schools always told me I needed meds. Dave, they always say they take almost all students who are expelled from elsewhere. Anna, like in school too, getting back to the part of the story about life before JRC. I was frustrated one day, and a teacher's assistant told me, I think you need meds to calm down. I remember being restrained by School 2 staff whenever I was having an aggressive behavior. The staff would put me in a timeout room and they would go in there and restrain me until I calmed down, but not the way they restrained me at JRC. They didn't use the prone restraint method, not at School 2. They just had me sit on the floor and a staff would sit down next to me by every side, and one would hold my hands, the other would hold my legs. See, this is the shit they do in public schools, ladies and gentlemen. They don't try to get to, but they don't try to find out what is behind, what is causing the aggression or the agitated behavior. No, they are too busy trying to put you in an isolation room and worrying about the normal kids to care about what is behind the behavior so we can actually do something about it. Public schools do not have the training, nor the staff that they truly need, or the funding to be able to do actually good, comprehensive education for people who are on the spectrum. Yeah, I said it. They are not given enough training, not enough money, not enough time. The list goes on and on. Dave, if you were already in a timeout room, why did they feel the need to restrain you? Anna, because the staff told me to calm down, and I didn't. Most of us don't calm down when being shoved into those isolation rooms. That kicks in a form of panic. At least it did for me. Of course, I didn't get stuck in isolation rooms very often. Never at all inside school. But anytime I feel isolated, I panic. I just do. It is a common thing. So, how they expect that to actually calm us down? Again, I really don't think these so called experts have any idea what they're doing. None whatsoever. Just saying. Dave, but they can just close the door and leave you inside to calm down with no restraints? Anna, they didn't want to let me go because they were worried I would escape. They didn't use mechanical restraints. They were just restraining me with their hands. Dave, but how could you escape if they held the door shut? Anna, I don't know. In order to hold the door shut, they would have to stand there the whole time. The staff told me they weren't going to let me go until I was calm, and they kept me in there the whole day. And then came X, a staff, and asked me if I felt safe enough to board the bus and go home with my peers. So I told her no. She then said she was going to have to call up my mom to come up and take me home from school. My mom shows up later and asks why they called her to come and get me, and why wasn't I placed on the bus with everyone else. They explained because I had a bad day, and he asked me if I felt safe enough to go get on the bus, and I told them no. Then me and my mom left school too. She was talking to me on the way home, asking me why do I behave this way. She said I just got kicked out of the previous school and just got into a new one and was already starting problems. And she asked me, when will it end? I told her I was sorry. She said I hope so. And I told my mom I wanted to stop by a 99-cent store. She asked me for what. I said I wanted to buy a gift for someone. See, this is what people don't understand. They're not willful behaviors. We're not doing it to make you feel bad or make you feel ashamed, to cause problems for you. It has literally nothing to do with the parents. None. None. We can't help that sensory issues can set us off sometimes. We can't help that stress sets us off sometimes. And we can't help that certain medications kick something in our brain which causes issues. This is why I say, numerous times, don't just take the doctor's word for it that this is the best treatment for your child. Ask questions. Because if someone is not responding well to a medication, it can cause feelings of agitation, isolation, aggression. All of that can come from giving someone improper medication. Just don't take doctor's word for it like it's the gospel. Okay? You can't. Because all these issues that you see popping up, and the fact that they keep refusing to take their medication, perhaps it's not the medication, but the type of medication that the child is receiving that is bringing up the issues. Just think on it. Yes? More autistic behaviors occurred with me when my ass was stuck on Ritalin than since I've removed myself off of Ritalin and Adderall. I'm just saying. The feeling of victimhood. Dave, I think your life was full of threats and mismanaged behavior. Not your fault. You also experienced losses of friends and good teachers from the school you liked. Sad, a lot of changes. Not long in one place, it seems. That's hard. For any autistic, such rapid changes with no warning affects us big time. Big time. And to expect us to behave like perfect little angels when we've had to try and adjust at breakneck speed to that many rapid changes happening at once, that's not how it works. We don't expect neurotypicals to adapt that quickly. So why are we putting that burden on autistic people? Ask yourself that question. And yeah, I had to move to Brooklyn and leave the school that I really liked. Do you think my case manager Y was lying when she told me I had to come back if I went home for 4th of July or else? Dave, I don't know if she really would have put you on 6 months loss of privileges. Maybe. Anna, that's the only reason why I kept returning there. Because every time it was time to return to the JRC after a home visit, I always thought to myself, no, I don't want to go back there. Maybe I should just stay home. But then I remember my case manager's words, and always ended up going back. And I remember her telling me about 6 months of LOP residence change. So I went back. She told me the consequences for not returning would be been 6 months on loss of privilege. I would have went back to LaRusso. And I didn't want to go back to LaRusso. I didn't like LaRusso. LaRusso was so restricted. At least in Abertorms, we had more freedom. At the Arbitrons, we only had 4 girls per house and 1 staff. LaRussa was the first residence I was placed. They start everyone off at the most restrictive house. If their behavior improves, they go to a less restrictive house. That's how it goes at JRC. They go by a behavioral ladder so that they threatened high restriction if you stayed in your real home. Not only that, but they threatened to send male staff to my house if I didn't return and take me against my will back there. My case manager told me that she came to the residence on a DAR day one day to have a talk with me. 2 staff came. This was on my last home visit, the one where I wouldn't return. So that means that I have escaped, right? If I didn't do the full time at JRC like I was supposed to, I escaped, right? Dave, yes, sounds like escape. Inna, but there's nothing they could have done on that day where they tried to take me back, but I resisted. The day they came in a JRC van to try to pick me up. Dave, I don't know if they could have tried more. Anna, yeah, it would have been difficult. Dave, you were very strong emotionally. And especially since I lived in an apartment building. Dave, you did well defending yourself. Courageous. Yeah, I know, Anna said, but pretty sure the staff weren't happy. How would they get me in the elevator? Dave, it would have been a big public scene that maybe they wanted to avoid at the elevator. Anna, Anna, so obviously my case manager lied to me. Oh, yes, she did. She definitely did. She just made threats so I would become scared and return to JRC. Dave, they didn't call the police? Maybe they knew they were in the violation of your rights. Anna, what would the police have done? How would they explain to the police as to what was going on? I think they were afraid to get the police involved. Anna, why? Dave, they fight many legal battles. Lose sometimes, I believe. If you had an attorney at your age, you could have fought for yourself legally. Informal opinion, not of attorney, but of an unofficial advocate. Anna, so what would have happened if I did the same thing on the 4th of July visit? The one where my case manager said I had to come back or else. Dave, the first visit back home? Anna, yeah. Dave, how old were you then? Anna, 17. How old were you when you escaped? Anna, 19. They might have called the police at 17 since you had less rights then, I believe. But I don't know probate law. After 18, normally, we would have more right to make our own decisions. One would think. But we only need to look at the Britney Spears case to know how that can be a load of garbage under the right circumstances. Bleh. I'm not having a pleasant hair day, folks. This is not me being the doll, as I call it. Oh, okay, that's a little better. Anna, but my case manager said if I didn't return, male staff would come to my house and put me in transportation restraints and got me back there. On my first visit, the 4th of July visit, which I went on at 17. So no threat of police then or ever? Anna, no, just threat of staff coming over and getting me and putting me into transportation restraints. Dave, maybe you could have escaped in the same way then, but you had more rights later, I think, when you were over 18. And I didn't think they can bring those with them, though. Dave, restraints? Yes. Dave, why not? To a client's house? How will they carry them? Dave, what kind of restraints? In the mitt bag? Anna, transportation restraints. Dave, a mitt bag is heavy? Yeah, it was. Mine was. Dave, metal. Anna, they were posy type of things with metal slides. Dave, full body? Anna, yeah, and they go on your hands and your ankles. Dave, what means posy? Anna, they were brownish and rubber material, and some of the clients wore those during transportation time, and some wore helmets in addition, and some wore handcuffs instead of restraints. Some clients also went into the restraint chair. Dave at JRC? Anna, yeah, some went on the board and some went into the mid jacket. Everyone was approved for different methods for restraint. Dave, what was approved for you? Anna, I think it was the mid jacket because that's what they put me in when I had an aggressive behavior. But that was only once. Dave, talk about whatever you want. Anna, so I could have escaped my first home visit? Dave, yes, I think so. But then they might have called the police since you had the less legal recourse to challenge them in court at 17. Informal, unofficial opinion of a disabled peer advocate who is not an attorney. Anna, called the New York City police? Dave, I think you did well waiting until 19. Anna, yes, I would have been able to get away with it at 18? Yes. You had adulthood at 18. I think your guardianship had been fought in court even if they did have a legitimately legal guardianship over you at 18. So I don't think they really did. Anna, my mom did, I think so. She felt like I wasn't ready to leave at 18 and therefore I wasn't able to sign myself out because one day they bring the paper to my classroom and I was asked to sign it. Dave signed the guardianship paper? Anna, yeah, from my probate court. I read it and it said my mom was taking over as my guardian. This was after I turned 18. They gave me a birthday party at JRC. Dave, yes, but didn't you talk to a judge or your own attorney? Anna, no. Dave, and you signed under threat, duress, invalid signature maybe. Once again, this is not the advice of attorney, and neither is any such unofficial, unprofessional opinion expressed by either person speaking in this interview. Dave, you don't have to keep writing that every single time. Anna, they didn't threaten me, but I was afraid to not sign it. Even if I didn't sign, then I would still have to stay, right? Dave, of course. They didn't say a threat, but the threat was real. Anna, yeah, I know. They would have put me on LOP, right? It would have been a non-compliance. Dave, they gave you no real choice. Everything they did was to control your behavior, including signing. Opinion. Anna, so that means I couldn't sign myself out at 18. If I signed that paper, right? Dave, maybe. If you had a lawyer, but nobody offered you a lawyer. Anna, no. Dave, I don't see how you could have not signed and fought them legally at the time. Anna, there would have been consequences, right? Like LOP, maybe they would have moved me down to another residence. Dave, yes, illegal consequences. Opinion. And illegal consequences like what? Dave, it's probably illegal to punish or threaten to punish or penalize anyone for not signing an agreement. Oh, it's very illegal. Extremely so. Very much so. So I think they would have legally punished you. But I'm not sure since you did sign. The threat seems real. They are illegal to threaten you for not signing a guardianship agreement. It is very illegal, but the tricky part comes in here, folks, is you have to prove it was forced and coerced. That means you would have to compel the JRC to produce the surveillance tapes, and we all know how much they like to doctor and or destroy evidence. If they punished you for not signing, they would have violated the law. Anna, but I signed. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe that was a mistake. But then I would have been on LOP. Dave, but you signed. So no illegal consequence, but an illegal threat for not signing or your guardianship agreement, if you're remembering correctly, has an invalid signature, yours. Same opinion. You didn't know, and they possibly would have illegally punished you for not signing, then forced you to sign soon. Anna, would they have done? Put me on the board? Dave, I don't know. Was the board ordered for your plan? Anna, I don't know. I was never put on it. When I did have a violent episode once, they put me in mints, but not on the board. Dave, I see. I think it would have been more likely at LOP, but we cannot know. Just in LOP, no residence change? Dave, or LaRusso also, please listen for a minute. I want to say something to help you feel better, if it helps. And I didn't want to go back to LaRusso. I liked the Abertiums. They had clients with the fewest behaviors, and one staff only. There were no boards at the Obtuse at LaRusso, there were. Dave, I'll say it when you're finished explaining or asking questions. And I was always thinking what would have happened if a client had a violent behavior at the arbitrums and there were no boards to restrain them to, and just one staff. The loose restrictive arbitrums not much, and more privileges at arbitrums. The Russo was restrictive and had violent clients and many takedowns. Arbitrarium was a house with calm clients. I would say these were the ones that got accustomed to it. Oh my god. At Arbitrariums, we had more freedom than in LaRusso. For example, Arbitrariums in the summertime, I remember how they took us to a nearby playground. In other words, folks, these are the guys that you've probably seen in the videos who are not on the shock treatments. This is my speculation. They have security systems to prevent escape in both. Yeah, and cameras everywhere. Dave, still sounds like prison in both residences to me. Since escape, they call that elopement is not allowed. Anna, yeah, I didn't know that prisons have cameras in the rooms, so that means you were watched while you sleep. In the school, they even had cameras in the restrooms. My case manager one day explained that those cameras don't show inside the stalls, just outside. When I asked her why they were there at all, she explained, in case there is a crisis in the bathroom, so that way the staff can respond quick. What kind of crisis are we talking about? Seriously? Eyewitness of shock. And when we heard staff call for help, that was an indication that a crisis was about to arise. That means they were about to restrain somebody. Sometimes it happened in the hallways. When we were returning one day from dinner, all of a sudden a staff yelled, "Everyone get out of the way now." And then the staff yelled, "Staff, get your clients out of the hallway. Everyone go back to your classrooms." Wherever there was a crisis, they didn't want others watching. They would tell the staff to take everyone else back to their classrooms. Crisis, my ass. We all know what happened, don't we? They would tell staff to take everyone else back to their classrooms. Well, if they're so proud of what they do, why are they telling all these clients and other staff to get in their classrooms? This one wonders. They took the clients to the crisis to the ALC room. That's the room they bring the clients in to be restrained when they were having an outburst. Or the conference room. Some clients went into the conference room and put on a board and into a helmet. Here's the thing, Anna. They weren't always having outbursts. Read Jennifer Masumba. She was not having any kind of outburst of any kind. They shocked her just because they could. It definitely seems from this whole blog, nothing against anyone, but they had their favorites. It's quite obvious. Dave, could you hear? Anna, I could hear. Dave, what did you hear? And I heard yelling, shouting, screaming often. I heard swearing, saying words. Dave, F you, bitch. I heard clients say, get the f off me. And I was assuming they were the ones being restrained. Dave, did you know when the shock happened? Yeah, I heard the GEDs go off sometimes. Dave, loud? Yeah, it was a screeching sound. Please talk about shock. Anna remembers and begins describing an account of a shock incident she had observed. All of a sudden, the staff pinpointed a behavior on him and gave him a shock. He was screaming, ow. I remember then another client got shocked for behavior deleted, potentially identifying information. Then as my classroom walked past the ALC room after lunch, I saw her in there, and she was being put on the board. And then when we got upstairs, one staff said that he thought that they did was wrong and that they shouldn't have put her on the board. Staff said it was wrong? Please explain. Yeah, there were a few nice staff in my classroom. I remember, because I guess he saw them putting her on the board when he walked past the ALC room. In order to get back upstairs to our classrooms, we had to pass the ALC room. And once I saw two restraints in the ALC at one time. Dave, some teacher heroes? Yeah, a few were nice. I remember one would always talk to me, and on field days she snuck me an extra drink. We were only allowed one flavored water for field day lunch. That was the rule, but that staff would always come to me and ask me would I like another one, and I said yes. And she would tell me to finish the one I had first. Then she would tell me to hand over the empty bottle. And she would go over to the can, which had all the flavored waters in it, and take one out and bring it to me. And when I told her I wanted a different flavor, she said no. It has to be the same one, so that way they don't know that you had two. So she could have lost her job for that, right? Dave, risked being a promotion or lost her job, assumption. And if someone saw her giving an extra flavored water to me when I was only supposed to have one, she would have been fired, right? Dave, fired, reprimanded, and written up. Anna, see now, I know why she always got me the second drink with the same flavor, so that no one noticed it was my second one. Dave, please talk about another time you saw or heard shock and how you felt. Anna remembers another incident, begins talking about it, and says, and then I heard his staff say that he was trying to remove his electroshocks. I figured that's what he was shocked for removing his electroshocks. Dave, for trying to remove electrodes? Yeah. Shock victim restrained? The staff grabbed him by the arm. Dave, no physical restraints? No. Standing and getting shocked? Yeah. JRC staff emitting undesirable behaviors. Anna, another time a staff member was having a conversation with me and then jumped up to grab another client's arm. He wanted to know what was going on with me because that day I came on the bus with transportation restraints and he knew I normally didn't go in transportation restraints. So he asked me, what happened? Why are you in restraints today? I explained to him it was because I grabbed a staff hand while the staff was searching me before transport. He said to me, you know you're on LOP now, right? I said, yes, I know. Then he said, I can't believe it. You were doing so well. You were passing multi-day number 5, and you just blew it. For grabbing someone's hand? I didn't like that, to be searched before each transport. Making her feel like a freaking prisoner. What the hell? I felt like I was in jail where they did that. Exactly. Dave, how did they search you? Anna patted my arms, legs, asked me to shake out my bra and my waist, and had me stand in front of a camera while I was being searched. And I had to stretch my arms and legs open while they searched me. Eventually, I gained independence, so I was no longer searched, except for when I was returning from a home visit. David's a Walt Disney prison with a yellow brick wall between jail cells. Anna, rewards like hair salons and contract stores for people who were passing and earned it. And a big reward store, field day. They did take us out to real trips too. I remember my house, arbitrums. We went on several trips. We went to the movies. There's no use for blame. Dave, I want to say something that may help you feel better. All clients at JRC are victims, in my opinion. And okay, then why do their parents place them there? Dave, the parents think it will help. Assumption. You were asking me if you made some bad decisions. You also told me that the staff asked you what you did wrong to be put in restraints. Anna, yes, she did. Dave, I'm trying to tell you that you never did anything wrong. Amen. They made you feel like you did something wrong. You were the victim. They blame victims. That makes it all feel worse for the victims. Much worse. Opinion. And so all I was thinking of when I was there was when will I finally get out and go home. I wanted to leave my first day when I got on the Russo bus. I noticed something was wrong when I saw almost all the clients in restraints on the bus. Dave, when you asked me if you made a mistake in your signature or not escaping sooner, you feel badly because you feel you made mistakes. This comes from so many people through your life blaming, threatening, penalizing, and punishing you. Such treatment will cause victims like you to get angry and act out, throw things, for example. Amen. Tell it. Preach, Dave. So even your so-called bad behavior was not your fault. But they blamed you for that too, even when they caused it. Think about that. I'm not a therapist, but that is my opinion. Anna, nobody likes spending the last of their school years in a place like JRC. And not only that, but staying there after their 18th birthday. Dave, read this again and see if you agree with me that nothing was your fault and they were blaming you often. You a victim before and during JRC. Anna, yeah, I agree. Before JRC, it was doctors and therapists doing the blaming. Anna telling me to behave or else I was going to end up in the hospital. Dave, I'm glad. Even though you think this way now, you may feel guilty or ashamed in a bad memory, though. But I'm telling you, it is not your fault. Nothing, ever. Anna's new program at age 28. In my new program, I talk about JRC. Dave, you have a new program? Anna, yes, a day program. It's nothing compared to JRC. Dave, how is it? I was in a day program for 2 years. Anna, there are no restraints, no boards, no electroshocks. No helmets, no mitt bags, none of that. It's good, I like it. I should have always been there instead of JRC. Do you feel safe? Anna, yeah. What does your family say about it? Anna, they think it's okay. The only thing they don't like is that I overeat there. Dave, they approve of the placement? Anna, yeah. Dave, great. And I always tell the staff I should have come before. They explained their program was for 21 and older only. Dave, then I think you are safely and successfully escaped from that damn JRC. I'm happy for you. Anna, I sometimes remember JRC though. Dave, congratulations. Anna, yeah, JRC can't touch me now anyways. Dave, you deserve a Courage Award for ceremony and newspaper reports in celebration of your victory. Anna, yes I do. Dave, I'm honored to know such a great person as you. Anna, am I at first? Dave, may I send you a Facebook request? Yes. Dave, I've not met someone incredible drama of bravery with a happy ending. Anna, what about Jennifer? Bravery towards what? Escaping them? I agree, Anna. Jennifer is a damn boss. Dave, I barely know her, but she is your peer of courage, your escape, endurance, self control under the circumstances. Be happy you feel like it. If I was your dad, I would say how proud I am. Have a good night, Dana. Anna. Anna, have a good night, Dave. And that covers the full interview. And that conclusion explains what I've been saying all along. These parents, they say they take them, they've been kicked out of hospitals, what have you. But what the parents never seem to say is why. They just said they acted out. The teacher said they acted out. The teacher had me come and get my child. You got to ask why. You can't just trust. Yes, you can't even always trust the public schools with your disabled kids if you are not asking why. And you just go blindly into whatever these teachers and so called professionals say, then your kid could end up in maybe not necessarily JRC, but possibly in another institution that uses things like food contingent programs, that use these types of ABA tactics, where they remove all sources of your identity. Question everything when it comes to your child. Story, end of. Because you can't trust that these doctors, these hospitals, these teachers, and all of these people truly have your child's best interests at heart. And I'm going to go ahead and end this video on the JRC on that note. Now, we don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do get get removed from time to time, especially for this subject. So, folks, please don't forget to hit that like button. Hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. Feed that algorithm. I do appreciate your time. And as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.